Hello everyone, we are here with no one else but Dr. Hanson, the creator, father, perhaps as well, of the robot Sophia, probably the most famous robot in the world, I guess, definitely in the future. Thank you for agreeing to talk to me and to answer some questions. Thank you. And let's start with the main one, because I just had a talk with someone in the corridor, and they say, you know, robots are okay, but I like them to look like robots rather than look like humans. I'm scared of that.
What did robots look like 1,000 years ago?
I don't know.
They didn't look like anything, did they?
Yeah.
So then we made up what they should look like.
Okay, we have.
So why can't we keep making it up?
Okay, so it's a new way of making up how the robots should look like.
Yeah, let's diversify. Let's continue to create.
Let's follow up on that. Would you say that in the future they will want to decide how they look like?
Maybe, yeah.
Oh.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like the idea of using today's, computational creativity. This sort of sometimes like the deep dreaming and various design algorithms to generate new designs for the robots themselves, and that is such an exciting idea. I also, but of course that is not like the same thing as human design, willful design based on human understanding. And I mean, I do think that that robots, like the traditional mechanical design of robots, is a fascinating and can be a quite lovely design aesthetic. And sometimes, the sheer utility of machines, it can be a beautiful thing. I also think that the works of art and design reinvent or totally newly invent what things should look like. And once a design becomes introduced, often it's highly disruptive. People are like, oh, it's beautiful, it's too weird, I don't like it, it's not like what I'm used to. And then after a while, people get used to it and it becomes the new design convention. And that is one of the great mysteries of existence. Where do these new patterns come from? Where does it come from in terms of new patterns of organisms, right? Information, it can't be created or destroyed. So what that means is all the potential patterns of organisms that never did exist, why didn't they come into existence? Why this particular evolutionary lineage? And where did all the organisms that used to exist, where did they go? I mean, you've got traces of them. I mean, obviously that information still exists in the universe, so it doesn't get destroyed. But where does it come from in the first place? All the potentiality, the fields of potential patterns and potential information. So we might just be manifesting it, like the human creative process. I mean, maybe it is that our conscious mind, in creating a snapshot of it, is like is doing so through some kind of collapse of the wave function. This is maybe requiring some kind of quantum consciousness, like what Penrose speculates, Penrose and Hameroff. I don't know. And the consciousness of humans might be anticipatory in this way, like unconsciously looking into this greater reality, and then snapping it into some real form that can exist within our daily lives. So I don't know where it comes from, but what I would say is that mystery of creativity, where do the creative ideas come from, drives innovation, discovery, the arts, design, commerce. It's something we should celebrate. I believe that it is sort of an ethical foundation. The foundation of creativity and the foundation of ethics are inextricably intertwined.
And that's still actually something new, because people tend to connect robots with engineering and mathematics. Yeah, I'm telling my daughter who is at math campus, study mathematics hard if you want to take part in this robotic future. But on the other hand, you are saying, well, but I've studied art and it helps me to create the best robot ever. And so my question is about our children, because you actually brought your son with you and your family here to Warsaw, which is amazing. And what should they be learning today to help them participate fully in this great new world that is coming?
Well, I think any given discipline is entrenched in traditions and conventions. And so if you simply learned the conventions of art, then you're not going to do a lot better. I mean, you can combine them in various ways, but that's also where it gets interesting. If you're combining them in new ways, then you're breaking new ground. You're defying convention or inventing. Maybe at some point, if it really works well and it changes the world, then it becomes the next generation convention. But so fundamentally, though, the question comes down to the comfort of the known versus the value of surprise and the unknown, what has not yet been discovered. So teaching...
Serendipity, perhaps?
Partially. Part of it is the playfulness that we associate with serendipity. Being open to new discovery, taking risks to shake things up, putting yourself into a kind of dreamer mind state. I don't know if you've ever woken up and looked at the ceiling or whatever and seen like weird patterns swirl and you're like, whoa, I didn't realize there was a face, in that wood grain. And then you wake up a little bit and you're like, wait, where was that face? And you barely sort of see it. But when you're in that in-between state, when you get into that, waking dreamer state, then you can see new things. And I think that creative state of mind, that playful and dreamy state of mind is behind the great scientific leaps, the great acts of technical innovation, the great insights into the physical nature of reality, great philosophical insights, and the great leaps forward in the worlds of the arts. So creativity is not specific to the arts. It may be, appreciated and nurtured, but not every art school nurtures this either. So
it has to be about the mindset and approach rather than the specific school of thought. Or discipline. Okay, and. Some people, actually majority of people, will still say it is science fiction what we are discussing. And many people will say, well, robots, there are some robots in industry. We got used to those, production robots. Yeah, we got used to. We even got used to Roomba or whatever is, going through our floors in our houses. But for the white collar person working in offices in the corporations, I think that for the first time in history, those folks are the last to benefit from the robotics revolution, aren't they? Have you seen any practical implementations of perhaps Sophia even for white collar work and any people that are not into production benefiting from robots already, or perhaps it's still a thing of the future?
Well, so many future applications will surprise us. And some things we think are easy turn out to be hard. Some things that we didn't anticipate turn out to change the world. And AI and automation have just barely begun changing everything. And so I think there are a lot more surprises awaiting us. Today, robots like Sophia can be used for autism therapy. So let's say a white-collar family has some children or a child with autism, then this robot could provide a therapeutic interaction that can help them socialize and learn social skills, because the kids make eye contact with the robots. They mimic the robots. It's a safe place for them to learn this kind of social behavior, and it seems to transfer to human-human interactions, which is very exciting. Medical simulation, so learning to train your medical professionals better through high-fidelity simulation with these
so realistic.
Exactly. So medical mannequins. To help us is a fusion between a kind of animated character art form with robots or virtual agents, combined with the personal assistant agents like you are experiencing now with Alexa.
Yeah.
But you turn it into a character and you gamify that social narrative interaction. You want to know what this little character is going through today. What's going to say next? What's the new drama of the day, and how does that relate with me? And suddenly you're personally bonding with this character that then is also helping you with these personal assistive aspects, and can also then excite kids about the educational experience, because these can be a platform for learning STEM and learning various courses, but it can bring the kids on a narrative adventure. Now, science fiction allows you to explore these concepts speculatively, and sometimes science fiction is fantasy, but other times it's almost like precognitive anticipation of reality. I mean, it's like the moon landing, the assistive computer in Star Trek, the communicators. Yeah. All of we're carrying like basically a Star Trek communicator around in our pocket all the time. Video phone. I mean, so these things were like kooky. Years ago, they seemed just like science fiction. Yeah. Part of the reason that science fiction is more and more popular as an entertainment medium is that we're living in a world that seems to resonate with science fiction.
See that it becomes true.
Yeah,
more and more. Yeah.
And sometimes it inspires the scientific and technical inquiry, and sometimes it acts as a kind of theoretical science. And
again, art shaping the reality.
Yeah, that's right. Again, that's right. Yeah,
that's amazing.
And then it goes back and forth like a dialogue between them. And I mean, I think the disciplinary boundaries themselves are a fiction. They are a convention that arose from totally artificial, that arose from the specialization of the disciplines. And in a way they're useful, but why is there a difference between chemistry and physics? I mean, they're the same thing. And biology and physics. And why is there a boundary between philosophy and science? I mean, so science is something that can be falsifiable by testing, but theoretical science starts out as an idea. It's like pure philosophy, and sometimes it's derided. It doesn't even belong in the world of science. You can't ask that question because you can't prove that it's falsifiable or testable. And then, lo and behold, some decades, or next century later, an experiment comes along that tests it, and then it's real science and it's valid. But that's nonsense, right? So sometimes these conventions actually get in the way of the pursuit of truth, and the pursuit of benefit through this kind of inquiry too. And certainly, what I'm proposing and what I'm working towards is taking these tools of the technology and inquiry and turning them into this new fictional art form, and using the aspects of fiction and the tools of fiction and arts for the benefit of new tools of science, like simulating a human being and testing the cognitive models and propositions through hypotheses on the robots as a test platform. That has been the way that a lot of the robots that I've developed are used, and the studies that I did during my Ph.D. Research and are described in my dissertation. That sort of work takes these works of art and uses them as a tool for science. And then you take the resulting science and you use it for the next generation art. So if we siloed everything.
We separate everything.
Then that's forbidden.
It.
So let's look at how they can be merged and interrelate, and then you can also potentially start to build bigger models of our reality and how all of these things integrate into an ecosystem of ideas and biology. And then we start to perhaps get some tantalizing glimpses into our place in the cosmos. One thing that I really respected about Carl Sagan's TV show Cosmos was that he asked those questions that went beyond any given science. It stitched all of these things together and asked big philosophical questions, questions that kids, young kids like I was when that show was on, they made sense to me. These questions made sense to me. They are
curious about it. The proper questions.
Yeah. And these are questions that artists sometimes ask. So, in other words, his approach to the pursuit of these questions broke down these disciplinary boundaries. And or perhaps they just said, those are conveniences and they're tools, and there's times to use the tools of the separation of the disciplines, and there's times when you don't use those
but do it
tools.
consciously. Know what you're doing. There's a time for separation and time for merger, but the message is merge them, create a fusion much more frequently than we do these days. So thank you for that message, and thank you for finding the time. I know you have to run. Enjoy Poland. You're still staying a few days. So I hope, well, it's not the best time of the year perhaps, but the people are the same. So hopefully
that's right. It's very warm in terms of the human relationships.
Thank you. And that's from the father of Sophia. So
thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.